Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
We were out last week, so we've got two chapters. Yeah, 2 chapters plus. We have to talk about Philippians 2:6-11. So we got to fit a lot. We got to fit a lot into this.
Isn't it good?
So going back 2 weeks, Mark, because you were excited to preach those 5 verses, what do you think you got most out of that?
6
that made it into your sermon, that you were really trying to just
6 verses.
Yeah, that's the thing. Looking in hindsight, you ask yourself, did I get it?
Yeah.
In a 15, 20, 25-minute sermon, did I get it? Did I get enough out? You know what I mean? N.T. Wright taught it for an hour, and he didn't get it all out.
Yeah.
And I looked through his book. I finally gave up on trying to read every page that mentioned Philippians 2:6-11.
Jeez.
It was that much.
Jeez.
So, no, I didn't get it all out. But hopefully the majority grasped the idea that Jesus was not void of divinity.
Yep.
While he was on the planet. He was divine before the planet existed. He's divine if this planet didn't exist.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes his whole humility even more incredible.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this whole thing in Philippians, especially to see the historical context that I'd heard but didn't really focus on, like N.T. Wright pointed out to us. And this contrast between the exaltation of Caesar and the humility of Jesus. And Jesus is coming at a time intentionally, right, according to the Bible, at just the right time. So it's in this crux of where we're exalting a emperor and worshiping him as Lord, and everything's about status and exaltation and boasting and rising up, and nothing's about humility, right?
Yeah.
And into this comes God, who first off comes as a baby, which we're about to celebrate, which is absurd, right? I mean, if you really wanted to come in like Caesar, float in off the clouds and, shoot some people with lasers from your finger or something,
Right.
So, but to come in humble, quiet, dirty diapers and all, and live among us and live humble.
Yeah. And
to live humble while you have the power. That's only a God could control that kind of power. I couldn't. Like his biggest outburst is to turn the tables over in the temple, right?
Yeah.
But he has the power at that moment to turn everybody that he's talking to into a charcoal brisket.
Yeah.
You can just speak the word and they'll just drop dead.
Is that a fancy way to say brisket?
Yeah.
Brisket.
So, anyways,
Yep.
It's the level of humility is beyond what our mind can really grasp.
Mm-hmm.
I watched part of The Chosen last night, where James and John are asking if they can sit at his right and his left, and you're like, man, they just don't even get this level of humility. He looks at him and says, you want to be the greatest, you got to be a servant, a slave. And they're all looking at him like, cows looking at a new gate, like they're lost. So hopefully, if nothing else, what we got through there is Jesus did not go void of divinity, did not lay down the God card, as some people say, but he was fully divine, fully human, which makes the whole mystery and the whole beauty of the gospel. And that further really highlights the level of humility that Jesus exhibited to us.
Yeah.
I think the whole book that we're going through, but also specifically these last 2, which you did to show the context. I think it's a reminder for all of us. Context is so important. Like when you're reading the letters or reading any part of Scripture or really doing anything, context is so, so important, because you read or you understand that Caesar is being treated like a god, and you have this weight, and Paul's aware of it. We may not be if you don't dig into the context. So he's writing with that awareness. In fact, not with the awareness, probably with that leading the letter, contrasting this idea versus who Jesus is. And all through, just to focus on Philippians 3, there's so many moments there where you could just read and go, oh, that's interesting, where he calls the flesh weak or mortality, and is kind of having this separation, it's like, oh, okay, he's contrasting even this godlike figure,
yes,
and Jesus, and saying and he goes in to say, I count everything as worthless except compared to my relationship with Jesus. So flesh and all that stuff. And, he says right at the very beginning, whatever happens, my dear brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord, And so it's this ongoing, when you read it, having that context, I think it's super important. It changes maybe not the meaning, but the emphasis of the letter.
I think it does. And I think, honestly, we live in a time.
It definitely could change the meaning if you don't have
we
it
live
right.
in a time where that's so easy. I mean, whatever AI use or Google, go in there and say, what is the context of the book of or the letter to, right? And how does that context affect the writing, and see what comes up. Like I did it for chapter 3. I just was like, what's it going to tell me?
Yeah. And
I was like, how do the Romans regard Caesar in contrast to what Paul's writing in Philippians 3? And it came back with a whole chart. Caesar is a god. Salvation means salvation is because Caesar has come and brought salvation to the nation. It gave everything that basically, not everything, but a lot of what we had heard at the seminar.
Yeah.
It's like, we're at a time where anybody could do that and kind of get that deeper highlight of what's being said.
Yeah, I was at Joseph Beth a few days, I think Wednesday or something. And
not a sponsor.
Shout out.
Welcome, though.
Bookstore. And one of the leading authors for Roman civilization, I've read a book of hers, but there was a book on the shelf and it was Emperors of Rome. And I was like, oh, shoot. I got to get this. So I've been reading it for the last few days, but that exact same thing of the first part of what she's talking about is how do you go from a power sharing democratic nation to who is heavily against sole leadership of one person? How did that even happen? And what I didn't know, was that when Augustus, first emperor, died, he wrote on his tomb this massive, what I did speech.
Okay.
And he just lists out everything that he did, how he conquered this land, how he brought peace here, how he did this and this and this and this. And it was she was kind of just talking about the imperial stature or the image that was being placed was every emperor wanted to contribute one thing of this is what I did and this is what it means to be emperor or god of the world or something like that. And it's a lot of those things that I was finding really interesting comparing to this, because a lot of the things are similar. Like what you said was peace and salvation, same words, same dialogue, same idea, two very different ways.
Yes.
Augustus brings peace by slaughtering everybody and
that's opposed.
and forcing people into taxation, but we'll
sounds
let
peaceful
you
to me.
Yeah, we'll let you be your own. You can still worship your religion and go about your life. Just make sure your money goes here. Versus Jesus, who's literally it's not false peace, and I find that so fascinating.
Yeah.
How the difference between peace, not just how you get to peace, but the contrast here of no, true power is so much more about what he did and then who you become because of that. And I was just wow.
Even the emperor thing you just said makes me think, how much emphasis do we put on the term legacy or what I'm remembered for? You know what I mean? And back to what we just read in chapter 3, Paul says, everything that would have been a legacy I count as dung, except knowing Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even in our churches, we teach legacy.
I was hoping you were going to take that and say dog crap.
Yeah.
When you said to explain it was animal excrement.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is a good opportunity
this
to say
be a
dog crap
for Mark
on
to
stage.
slip and say something inappropriate.
That's right.
Trust me, it's in there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But you know what I mean? I mean, think about it. Here's each emperor wanting to add to the list. This is what I did, right? And we live in a world like that. I mean, how do buildings get named after people, right?
Dollar bills,
yeah. And that's back to why we have Ecclesiastes. It's yes, as crazy as that is, and when I went to Rome and was looking through the forum, it's this is crazy, this is cool, seeing these things. But then at the end of the day, it's 15 minutes after, you're I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's Ecclesiastes. Like, no matter what legacy you bring, it's like your great grandkids will never know who you are and not give any 2 cents in your life.
Yeah. I mean, adding on to that, even though it's kind of a tangential conversation, I'm still going to. Even our new middle school right down the road, Mary Britton. The story, hearing Mary Britton's story is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about
when
a
he
true
told us
like
part of her story.
Oh my gosh!
I was
and
like, wow,
you
I've
should
never heard of her.
just go look her up if you're interested. Like broke color barriers, women barriers, like medical barriers, all kinds of stuff. Never heard of her.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
if they hadn't named a school after her, you and I wouldn't even know.
No. And so the point is, like, if you want to talk about actually a real, incredibly helpful legacy, she's got one. Like, she actually paved the way for millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
And yet never heard of her. Yeah. Right? So, again, that's a me. Maybe someone out there has. But it's just to show, like, Scripture says, like, from dust we're formed and to dust we will return. Like
Ken Mansfield shared a neat story with me yesterday, and I forget the minister's last name. His first name was Henry Clay. It was like Henry Clay Morrison or somebody like that. But anyways, he was coming back from the mission field where he'd served faithfully and done like fantastic work in the mission field. But he landed on the port the same day that like Teddy Roosevelt or one of those Roosevelts, Dwight or Teddy, landed, right? Mm-hmm. So there's all this fanfare for Roosevelt, and nobody even notices him.
Yep.
So he gets off the boat, you know, and he travels home, and when his train ends back up here in Lexington, no one notices him. He goes down to Asbury, no one notices, you know. And he said that he felt like the Lord said, "Don't worry that there's no crowd because you're not home." So, like, when you get to your real home, wait till you see the celebration.
Yeah.
So really that's this whole idea of humility in this book of Philippians. Like, this is it. Just be humble like Christ. Have that mind like Christ. And so he spends all these chapters illustrating particularly the Christ hymn. Yeah. You know, chapter 2, verse 6 through 11, the humility of Christ.
Yeah.
So, which again, if we'll quit trying to manipulate that into something that it's not, and just focus on how that shows the humility of Christ, it's astonishing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes into the idea too that I love that he's saying, and we get caught up in the idea of just this transactional relationship of, if I follow Christ, if I do if I do lean into humility, then surely Christ will do X, Y, and Z for me. And it's just, I feel like I've just been sitting with that over the last couple weeks of just looking at this and realizing, like, even when Paul says, "Hey, I found contentment in every situation, whether I am shipwrecked on an island or whether I'm in prison or whether I'm in a church with you all hanging out." And I think it's just so, it's powerful, but sometimes I'm just like, is that possible?
Yeah.
But
that
the
shows
idea,
me how far I still have to go.
Exactly. But the idea that just, is Jesus enough? Like, is if he is the prize, which he is the prize. It's not even the heavenly inheritance. That's awesome. And whatever that may be, if that is just simply eternal life, or whether that is riches and mansions or a house to live in, I don't know. Who knows? All of our imagination, how we go there. But what does it really mean for Christ to be the reward? Just him.
I think that's what Dr. Wright was trying to stress too. Like, if you see it like that, instead of this place I got to go to for some extraordinarily heavenly retirement. Yeah. But you see it as Christ coming here, Christ coming to you, Christ coming into your life. Yes. Then ultimately, heaven is here with you. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's clearly where Paul is at, and clearly where I need a lot of work. Yeah. You know?
Well, I mean, you've stressed it the last 2 or 3 weeks, is the idea of, if it is just the heavenly place, then what's the in-between really matter? Like, why do what we do? Exactly. Versus if we've been saved And our salvation also includes the invitation to bring salvation to where we've been placed, in our families, in our households, at our work, and to extend that salvation in the space that God gives us to. Then that really does change the whole narrative of why we need humility, because the humility of Christ changed the area around him. And then he's like, hey, guess what? You and your dumb self and the ways in which you choose the flesh all the time. And I'm like, and that's just communion has become a little bit more special to me too, of what you were saying yesterday too. Like, why we do communion is this remembrance of Christ has given me just such an amazing gift. And he like wants to trust me to be salvation in the areas here on earth when my stupid self is going to consistently take flesh. But like just remembering that over and over again, like this is what he did for you. You're a new person.
Yeah.
You have freedom to do X, Y, and Z in the kingdom of heaven and to change the area around you. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like getting all that to click is just starting. It just is with Jesus.
That's one of the things I hope from yesterday. And again, how much do you cover? How much do people, you know, like even those times when people tell you it's a good sermon.
Yep.
You're like, I wonder if 2 weeks from now they can even remember that.
Yeah.
You know, but
that's another
I would
problem.
hope.
That's another sermon.
Yeah. I would hope that somebody figured out the only spiritual resume I need is Jesus. Mm-hmm. Like all the things, that doesn't mean we stop doing works. Right. That was the whole for and from. But we don't stop doing works, but they are gaining us. They're nothing as far as salvation. Mm-hmm. They gain us an experience.
Yeah.
They help us grow in things like humility. But to be able to say, whatever was your spiritual resume, you know, I sang at this place. I led this service. I helped these people. Like, that doesn't cut anything.
Yep.
You know? It's, do you have Jesus Christ? I mean, that's back to the, you know, in Matthew, the Lord, didn't we, you know, cast out demons? Didn't we do such and such in your name?
Yeah.
You know, like, forget that.
Yeah.
I had a professor in college who shared kind of two of his stories that tried to help explain that. And I think they were very good. One of them was, just like an allegory of what if you have a kid that plays baseball or whatever, and you're in the backyard and you're working on them with drills hitting on the tee, right? He said later you go in and you're washing the dishes and looking out the kitchen window and you just see the kid working on that drill. He said it doesn't change your love for that kid, but there's a nearness, a new nearness, knowing that the kid just has the desire. Mm-hmm. He said it has nothing to do with their success. It's just desire, right? Yeah. That they want to do it. Right.
Yeah. That's
so then point. He gave an even better one. I thought was with his daughter. She's saving money to go to Disney World. She wants to go. He's like, well, you can't afford it, even though they already booked a trip, whatever. But she's saving money. He's like, you got to save your quarters, basically. They're walking out of Walmart in the Salvation Army, ringing the bell, and she put the money in the bucket. And she asked her dad, like, should I or whatever? And he's like, that's totally up to you. Like, you know, you're saving for Disney World. That's important to you too. And she puts it in the bucket, and so he kind of asked her, like, he said, we're walking in the parking lot holding hands. He said, why did you decide to do that? And basically she said, because they need food and clothes, and Disney World's just like an extra thing in my life. And so he said, in that moment, he said, I love my daughter the same before and after. But the nearness, there was a new intimacy and nearness that I had with my daughter based on what she did. Yeah. He said, I didn't love her any more or less, but he said there was just a new intensity to our nearness.
Yeah.
And he said that he explained that to be the idea of how the relationship of works is with Jesus. And it's a discipline of nearness. You know, it doesn't change that. That's he loves you.
That's a good illustration.
You could say I'm not doing works. He's still going to love you. But then there's the effort, there's the lack of desire, effort to grow near to him. Yeah. And that's there, and it's obvious. So,
well, that, and going even to back to is heaven my destination? Is heavenly retirement my destination? Like, there is a destination. There's no, it's not just like an ambiguous cloud of, like, there is an end goal, but that end goal is like the fullness of togetherness.
Yeah.
It's like the accumulation, the pinnacle of relationship. It is like total closeness, what Jesus says, total completeness, total fullness. And I think that's exactly right on the head. Like salvation starts and grows into this beautiful relationship.
Is your end goal a place or is your end goal a person?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many people even now talk about going to heaven for like some giant family reunion?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
well, you did that one sermon where you said something like, "You're going to see your dog. You're going to be severely disappointed if that's your reason to go to heaven."
But you know what I mean? The real reason, that's why he says his talk about heaven, like there's no marriage, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're going for a relationship with him. Maybe it's beyond what we can understand, right? I mean, I don't think there is, but what I'm saying is his point, obviously, in that comment is you're supposed to be headed to the ultimate fulfillment of relationship with me.
Yes.
It's not about the mansion. It's not about the cloud. It's not about the crystal sea. You know what I mean? It's this relationship. Yep. So if you're going for a place or stuff, you've already got the wrong, compass there. I mean, but if you're going for a relationship with a person, then that you can bring that here.
Exactly. It's the start.
Or he can bring that to you, however you want to. Don't fight me on the grammar here, but the point is that doesn't have to wait.
That's right. And that I think is exactly where Paul's going. He is just, Jesus is the prize. As you step closer and closer and closer to him here on earth, you look more and more and more like him. Like his life becomes your life becomes his life. It's this togetherness. And
that's what I think Paul, that's how I think Paul has contentment.
Yeah. It's just Jesus and only Jesus. And anything else is a bonus. But it's like, is my heavenly idea an entitled one? Like, here I did all these things. Here's what I'm going to get in heaven. Versus I'm actually a deep sinner who needed saving, and Jesus was the only person who could possibly, and he alone did it.
Yeah.
And because of that,
think how much we played that game in the flesh, though.
Yeah.
Because almost everybody I meet can tell me of some granny who surely is like exalted in heaven because of the way she lived, right?
Yeah.
But maybe granny figured out what Paul figured out. I'm content. I have a relationship, right?
Yep.
She was never trying to earn a mansion.
Yep.
And so, like even now, sometimes people are giving money for that same purpose, Yeah. I mean, I've had people say before, like, give me a check. Now, make sure you pray for me and put in some good, brownie points for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, because you're the bridge.
Yeah, like I can do that, okay? So
did you turn around and say, I don't know, I think you should be doing that for me?
Let me give you a check.
Actually, what I said is for $50, you ain't getting very many points. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
We're going to have to add a couple zeros to that, buddy.
It's a joke. It's a joke. Promise.
That's funny. All right, well, finishing up Philippians this week. Chapter 4.
Yeah.
All things through Christ who can strengthen.
Yeah.
Like jump really high.
Like jump
really fast.
Or fly.
Clearly, that's not the intent of that passage.
What?
But let me just tell you something. Let me just tell you about humility. Yeah. So when he was real little, Max and I were we lived in a court, okay? And so we would go out in the court and practice tennis. He liked tennis at the time. So we would hit the ball back and forth in the court, And one day he said, Dad, what if I hit, granted, he's just a little kid, right? He said, what if I hit this ball all the way to the sky? I think he said to the sun or the moon or whatever. And in my great, loving father position, instead of nurturing my kid, I went, well, that'd be impossible, right? Because I can be a jerk, total jerk. I went, well, that'd be impossible. You know what he said? Nuh-uh, Dad. It wouldn't be impossible if God wanted me to do it.
Woo!
So, my little kid humbling his minister father. That's so, right. Yeah.
And then you're like, well, God probably doesn't want you to hit a tennis ball to the moon.
Yeah. So,
it's not his will.
But you never know.
Yeah. So for his sake, I doubt I'll use him as an illustration this Sunday. But, man, he got me.
That's hilarious.
All righty. Well, we will see you back here for Philippians 4. Have a great week. Micah.
You're loved. There's nothing you can do about it.
See ya.
See ya.
Peace.